My boyfriend proposed to me on my birthday while my friends filmed it for social media. I emotionally said yes, tears in my eyes, thinking it was real, only for him to laugh and tell me it was just a prank. My friends were totally shocked and speechless. My heart was broken as Ella had been looking forward to her 25th birthday for weeks. It wasn't just any birthday. It felt like a milestone, a time to reflect on her life, her dreams, and the people she loved. She had invited a few close friends over to her cozy Atlanta apartment, decorating it with balloons, candles, and fairy lights. The aroma of freshly baked chocolate cake filled the air, mixing with the scent of her favorite scented candles. Soft R&B music played in the background, creating the perfect celebratory vibe. Her boyfriend, Adrian, had been acting unusually secretive all week. Every time Ella asked about his plans for the day, he would just smile mysteriously and say, "You'll see." Normally, she would roll her eyes, thinking he was just being playful, but there was something different this time. Something in his eyes that made her heart skip a beat, a flutter of anticipation she couldn't ignore. The party started with laughter, music, and hugs. Her friends had brought gifts and cards, and Ella felt genuinely happy. She laughed freely, chatting with her girls, sipping on sparkling juice, and enjoying the warmth of friendship. But all the while, her thoughts kept drifting to Adrian. She wondered what he had planned. As the evening settled, Adrian cleared his throat, capturing everyone's attention. He had that serious look on his face, the same look he got when he wanted her to pay close attention. Ella's heart began to race. The room quieted as Adrian stepped toward her, kneeling on one knee. Her breath caught, and her hands flew to her mouth in shock. "Ella," he began, his voice low and deliberate, "you know I love you more than anything in this world, right?" Ella's eyes welled up with tears. "Of course," she whispered, her voice shaking. Her heart was already swelling with emotion, the room blurring around her in a haze of anticipation and joy. Then Adrian reached into his pocket and pulled out a small velvet box. The room seemed to hold its breath. Her friends, sensing the moment, had quietly pulled out their phones and begun recording, capturing every heartbeat, every blink, every flicker of emotion. "Ella, will you marry me?" Adrian asked, opening the box to reveal a sparkling diamond ring that seemed to catch the soft candlelight and multiply it 100 times. Ella's body froze. She felt tears streaming down her cheeks as her chest tightened. She had imagined this moment countless times in her mind. The perfect proposal, the perfect words, the perfect smile on Adrian's face. And now, here it was real and raw, right in front of her. "Yes. Yes, Adrian. I'll marry you," she blurted out, her voice quivering with emotion. Her friends cheered softly, clapping behind their phones. Some of them even let out little ahs as they captured the tearful, heartfelt moment for social media. Ella felt like she was floating, completely overwhelmed with love, happiness, and relief that her dreams had come true. And then he laughed. "Gotcha. It's just a prank," Adrian shouted, the ring still in his hand, his smile wide and teasing. Time seemed to stop for Ella. Her smile froze, her tears blurred her vision, and the room suddenly felt too small, too bright, too cruel. Her chest tightened painfully, like someone had shoved a knife into her heart. The ecstatic joy she had felt a moment ago evaporated, replaced by shock, confusion, and a sharp, biting humiliation. Her friends were frozen in place, phones hovering midair, some slowly lowering them as the reality sank in. Ella's eyes darted between Adrian and her friends, looking for some hint that this was all a misunderstanding. But there was none. Adrian was laughing, proud of his cruel joke, oblivious to the emotional devastation he had caused. Ella wanted to disappear. She wanted the ground to swallow her whole. Her cheeks burned with embarrassment, and her tears fell harder. No longer tears of joy, but of heartbreak. "Adrian, how could you?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the soft hum of the party music. Adrian shrugged, still grinning. "Relax, babe. Everyone's laughing. It's funny." Ella's mind raced. "Funny? This was supposed to be the happiest day of her life. This was supposed to be a moment she would remember forever. And now, it was a nightmare, played out in front of her closest friends. She felt exposed, vulnerable, and betrayed all at once. For the rest of the evening, she wandered through her apartment, avoiding Adrian, unable to meet his eyes. Her friends tried to comfort her, offering hugs and gentle words, but nothing could erase the sting of what had just happened. Every corner, every decoration, every soft flicker of candlelight reminded her of the betrayal, making the hurt feel endless. Ella realized that what Adrian had done wasn't just a prank. It was a public humiliation, a calculated joke that disregarded her feelings entirely. And as she stood in the middle of her own birthday party, surrounded by laughter that now felt hollow, she made a silent vow to herself. She would never allow anyone to treat her heart so carelessly again. The room felt heavy, suffocating. What had just happened left Ella in a daze. Her heart thumped painfully against her ribcage, each beat echoing the sting of betrayal. The laughter that had once been the soundtrack of her happiness now rang in her ears like nails on a chalkboard. Adrian stood there, grinning as if nothing had happened, oblivious to the damage he'd caused. Ella's friends, who had been quietly recording the moment, lowered their phones, their expressions a mixture of shock, anger, and disbelief. Tia, her closest friend, stepped forward and placed a gentle hand on Ella's shoulder. "Ella, are you okay?" she asked softly. Ella shook her head, her tears spilling over uncontrollably. I can't believe he just did that," she whispered, her voice breaking. How could he? How could he think this is funny?" Her friends exchanged glances. They had been expecting a heartfelt proposal, maybe even a few tears of joy themselves. But instead, they had witnessed a moment of cruelty that no one should ever experience, especially not on their birthday. Some of them scrolled through their phones, hesitant to delete the video, caught between sympathy for Ella and the bizarre allure of capturing viral moments. I need some air," Ella said, her voice trembling as she moved toward the balcony. The cool Atlanta night breeze hit her face, but it did little to calm the storm raging inside her. The city lights twinkled below, oblivious to her pain. She wrapped her arms around herself, wishing she could disappear, wishing the floor would swallow her whole. She kept replaying Adrian's words in her mind, the cruel punchline that shattered everything. "Gotcha. It's just a prank." The phrase echoed relentlessly, each repetition twisting the knife deeper. She had given him her heart freely, trusted him completely, and in return, he had humiliated her in front of everyone she cared about. Her friends followed her to the balcony, forming a protective circle around her. Tia held her hands tightly. "Ella, he went too far," she said, her voice firm yet gentle. "No one deserves to be treated like that. You didn't do anything wrong." Ella nodded, but the words barely registered. It felt like no amount of reassurance could fix the raw ache inside her chest. Every laugh, every smile Adrian had shown, every moment of playfulness now felt like a lie, a carefully constructed mask hiding a cruel streak she had never noticed before. "I thought he loved me," Ella said, her voice barely above a whisper. I thought this was real." Her hands trembled as she clutched the balcony railing, trying to hold herself together. I said yes, with everything in me." Her friends exchanged sympathetic glances, their own hearts aching for her. Malik, another friend, stepped closer. "Ella, you're amazing. You are worth more than someone who thinks it's funny to play with your feelings. He doesn't deserve your love." Ella wanted to believe him, wanted to cling to the hope that anyone, could understand the depth of her pain. But the sting of humiliation lingered like smoke, choking her from the inside. She imagined how the video might be shared online, how strangers would watch her cry, while Adrian laughed. The thought made her stomach churn, and for a moment, she felt completely powerless. She wandered back inside, pacing through her apartment. Each step felt heavy, each heartbeat a painful reminder of her shattered trust. Adrian followed her, still trying to laugh it off, still attempting to act as if nothing had happened. Ella, come on, it's just a joke, he said, reaching for her hand. She pulled away sharply, her eyes blazing. A joke? Adrian, this isn't funny. You humiliated me in front of my friends. You made my birthday a nightmare. He shrugged, still smiling, as if her anger were unreasonable. You're overreacting. Everyone's laughing. You need to lighten up. The words cut deeper than any punch. Ella's throat tightened as she realized the truth. Adrian didn't see her feelings as valid. He didn't see her heartbreak as real. To him, her tears were just part of the entertainment. That realization made her stomach drop in despair. For the rest of the night, Ella avoided him, retreating to her bedroom while her friends stayed close, offering silent support. They brought her water, tissues, and soft words, but nothing could erase the humiliation. She lay on her bed, staring at the ceiling, replaying every detail of the cruel prank. Every time she blinked, she could see Adrian on one knee, laughing, holding up that ring she had dreamed about. It was supposed to be a moment of love, a moment to remember forever. Instead, it had become a moment of betrayal, one she would replay in her mind for months to come. The joy she had felt earlier in the day had vanished entirely, replaced by a hollow ache and a gnawing sense of loss. Even as her friends tried to lighten the mood, cracking jokes and reminding her that it wasn't her fault, Ella couldn't shake the feeling of shame and heartbreak. She had trusted someone she loved deeply, and that trust had been trampled. It was a lesson in the harsh reality of human cruelty, delivered on what should have been the happiest day of her life. By the time the party ended, Ella realized that something fundamental had changed. She wasn't the same woman who had laughed and danced earlier in the evening. She had been forced to confront the fragility of trust and the cruelty that some people are capable of. And somewhere in the depths of her heartbreak, a quiet, determined resolve began to form. She would not allow this to define her. She would not let Adrian's cruel joke take away her sense of self-worth. The morning after her birthday felt strange, almost surreal. Sunlight streamed into Ella's apartment, warm and indifferent, as if mocking the storm inside her heart. She barely slept, tossing and turning, replaying the cruel scene from the night before. Adrian's laughter, the ring glinting in the candlelight, the video her friends had filmed, all of it replayed like a broken record. She felt drained, raw, and angry in ways she hadn't experienced before. She knew she couldn't let this go without confronting him. The betrayal wasn't just about a prank. It was about trust, love, and respect, all of which Adrian had disregarded. Ella sat on the edge of her bed, her hands clasped tightly together, steeling herself. She knew that facing him wouldn't be easy. It might hurt more, but staying silent would be worse. Adrian appeared in the living room, stretching casually as if the night before had been nothing more than a silly joke. "Morning, Ella. You look tired," he said, smiling as though everything were fine. Ella's chest tightened. "Adrian, we need to talk," she said, her voice firm, yet trembling slightly with the undercurrent of her emotions. She took a deep breath, trying to steady herself. "I can't let what happened last night go without addressing it." He raised an eyebrow, the casual smirk on his face irritating her even more. "Oh, come on, Ella. You're still upset about a joke? Seriously?" Her eyes flared. "A joke? Adrian, you humiliated me in front of my friends. You made me cry. You turned my birthday, a day that was supposed to celebrate me, into some kind of social media spectacle." Her voice cracked, but she didn't stop. "Do you even realize what you did? Do you even care?" Adrian shrugged, as if shrugging off her feelings was the natural response. "I mean, people are talking about it online. Some people even thought it was funny. You need to chill." Ella's heart sank. She had hoped for some recognition of her feelings, some hint that he understood the pain he caused. But here he was, brushing it off, minimizing her heartbreak, treating her emotions like they were trivial. The realization hit her like a punch to the gut. Adrian didn't value her. He didn't respect her. He had treated her tears as entertainment. "I can't believe I trusted you," Ella said, her voice trembling with a mixture of anger and sadness. "I thought you loved me. I thought this was real. And you used it as a joke. You laughed at me. Adrian tilted his head, still smiling. You're overreacting, Ella. Honestly, you need to get a sense of humor. Everyone laughed. It was funny. Ella shook her head, tears spilling down her cheeks. Funny? Adrian, my heart isn't a joke. My feelings aren't a joke. How can you be so cruel, so heartless? He shrugged again, indifferent. That shrug, that dismissive gesture, was like a final confirmation of the truth she had been afraid to see. He didn't care about her. He didn't care about the pain he had caused. He had only cared about the joke, about the attention, about himself. For a moment, Ella just stared at him, searching his face for some flicker of remorse, some sign that the man she had loved was still there. But there was nothing, only the same smug expression, the same shallow humor. And in that instant, she understood. Adrian had never truly seen her as an equal partner, never truly loved her the way she deserved to be loved. A strange mix of emotions washed over her, anger, heartbreak, but also clarity. She realized that staying with him would only mean more heartbreak, more disrespect, more humiliation. She didn't need someone who laughed at her pain, who used her trust as a punchline. She needed someone who would honor her, respect her, and love her with sincerity. I can't do this anymore, Adrian, Ella said, her voice steady now, tinged with resolve. I can't be with someone who thinks it's funny to destroy my happiness. You don't get to treat me this way, and I won't let you. I deserve better. Adrian blinked, surprised by the sudden firmness in her tone. Ella, come on, I didn't mean. Don't, she interrupted sharply. Don't try to excuse it. Don't try to minimize it. You made your choice. You chose a joke over my feelings, over my trust, over our relationship. That's not love. That's cruelty. And I'm done. She turned and walked away, leaving Adrian standing in stunned silence. For the first time in her life, Ella felt a weight lift off her shoulders. The heartbreak was still there, raw and heavy, but it was mixed with a newfound strength. She realized that her life, her joy, and her self-worth didn't belong in Adrian's hands. She could reclaim them herself. As she packed up the birthday decorations and wiped away the lingering tears, Ella reflected on the lessons she had learned. Love wasn't supposed to hurt like this. Trust wasn't supposed to be treated as a joke. And happiness, real happiness, was something she could create for herself, without relying on someone who didn't value her. Her friends stayed close, offering support and gentle encouragement, but she didn't need them to fix her. She felt it in herself now, the quiet, steady strength of someone who had faced betrayal and refused to let it define her. The heartbreak had opened her eyes to a truth she hadn't wanted to see, but now that she did, it was liberating. Ella looked around her apartment, at the remnants of her birthday celebration, and allowed herself a small, bittersweet smile. She would grieve the betrayal, yes, but she would also rise from it stronger than before. Adrian's prank had been cruel, but it had also shown her exactly who he was, and in that clarity, she found the beginning of her own empowerment. The days after the confrontation felt strange for Ella. There was a quiet in her apartment that felt both heavy and freeing. Adrian was gone. She had made it clear he had no place in her life anymore, but the echo of his laughter, the memory of that cruel prank, lingered in her mind like a shadow. For the first time in a long while, she felt the weight of heartbreak, but alongside it, something else, a flicker of strength. Ella leaned against her kitchen counter one morning, sipping her coffee and staring out the window at the bustling streets of Atlanta. People walked past, laughing, talking, living their lives, and she realized something profound. Life didn't stop because someone betrayed her. Life kept moving, and she had the choice to either be dragged down by the pain or rise above it. She decided on the latter. The first step was acknowledging her emotions. She allowed herself to cry without shame, to scream into pillows when the memories of Adrian's laughter became too much. She wrote in her journal, pouring out the hurt, anger, and humiliation she had experienced. Each word was a release, a small step toward reclaiming herself. Her friends became her anchor. Tia and Malik would check in daily, making sure she was eating, sleeping, and finding moments of joy. They went on long walks together, laughed at silly movies, and reminded her that her worth was not defined by the cruelty of one person. Ella felt grateful for their support, but she also realized that true healing had to come from within. Slowly, she began to rediscover herself. She revisited hobbies she had neglected, like painting and photography, finding solace in creating beauty with her own hands. She focused on her work, pouring her energy into her career, proving to herself that her life could thrive without Adrian. Every accomplishment, every small victory, reminded her of her resilience. Social media, which had felt like a minefield after the viral video, became a tool for empowerment rather than humiliation. Ella shared moments of self-love, reflections on strength, and snapshots of her passions. People responded with encouragement, sharing their own stories of heartbreak and growth. It reminded her that she wasn't alone, that others had faced betrayal and emerged stronger. One evening, as she walked through her apartment, Ella paused in front of a mirror. She studied her reflection, a Black American woman who had loved deeply, been hurt profoundly, but refused to be broken. Her eyes, still soft from tears, now shone with determination. She whispered to herself, "I am more than his cruelty. I am enough. I am worthy. I am strong." Ella realized that healing wasn't about forgetting what Adrian had done. It was about learning from it, letting it shape her into someone wiser and more resilient. She set boundaries for her future relationships, knowing now that anyone who didn't value her emotions or respect her heart had no place in her life. She also forgave herself for the moments of vulnerability that Adrian had exploited. Saying yes with tears in her eyes wasn't a mistake. It was a testament to her capacity to love deeply, a gift that would one day be cherished by someone who truly deserved it. Weeks turned into months, and Ella felt a sense of peace she hadn't known before. She spent more time with friends, traveled to places she had always wanted to see, and celebrated milestones with joy, not fear of betrayal. Each day was a reminder that happiness could exist without Adrian, that love could be real and safe when shared with someone worthy. And while she sometimes glanced at the viral video, she no longer felt the sting of humiliation. Instead, she saw it as a turning point, a painful but necessary moment that had awakened her inner strength. She had survived heartbreak, and in surviving, she had discovered her true power. Ella knew she would love again, but differently. She would choose someone who respected her tears, cherished her joy, and celebrated her existence, not mocked it. She had been broken, yes, but she had also been reborn. And the thought filled her with hope and quiet confidence. Looking back, Ella realized that Adrian's cruel prank, as devastating as it had been, had shown her something invaluable. She was resilient, strong, and worthy of love that uplifted rather than destroyed. Her birthday, once a day of heartbreak, had transformed into a symbol of self-discovery and empowerment. As the sun set over Atlanta, Ella sat by her window, a soft smile on her lips. She thought of the journey ahead, full of possibilities, laughter, and genuine love. For the first time in weeks, she felt truly free. Her heart, once shattered, was healing, and this time, she held the pieces in her own hands. Thank you, lovelies, for sticking till the end of my story. Kindly subscribe if you haven't for more incredible stories, and don't forget to like and comment. Thank you, lovelies. Bye-bye.